Welcome to the August 26th meeting of the Council on Climate Solutions. I'm Phil Roos, for those who don't know me. I'm Director Beagle and Chair of the Council. We've got some introductions to do here in a minute, but let's get some of the basic housekeeping out of the way. The first thing we need to do is we're going to actually do this in a minute. We need to vote to approve the agenda for today. And sorry, I'm confused by that. Oh, sorry. Just got a little confused there. This is our second meeting of the year. Remember, we had the meeting at the council, the climate, the My Climate Healthy Climate Conference, and so this is our last time we've been together since May or April, whenever that was. We have two council reappointments to announce. Happy to say that Carrie Dugan of Detroit, who many of you know, founder and CEO of Energy Security Partners, knower of every person in the state of Michigan who's interested in starting a business here, and great connector, and it's been a great force on the council. She's reappointed for a term commencing August 20th, 2025 and expiring in February 2029. Welcome back, Carrie.
Thank you, Director Roos.
Okay. And next one, just as impressive, Jonathan Overpeck, or Peck as we call him. He is the Dean of and a Professor of Environmental Education at the U of M School of Environment and Sustainability, or SEAS, and a climate scientist in his own right, and a world authority on some of the work that we're trying to address. He's also reappointed for that same term period. Second term starts August 20th, 2025 and expires April 2029. Welcome back, Peck. Thanks for signing on for another term. Yay, Peck. And then I'm going to introduce somebody else who isn't here yet. We have a new council member. Her name is Mary Elizabeth Estrada.
She just got here.
Oh, you're here.
Sorry about that. I was waiting down in the security check.
I thought I heard you were out of office today or couldn't make it.
I drove from Saugatuck.
Oh.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure I was here for the first.
She's going to be a hardworking member of the council. She's from East Lansing. She's a Climate Energy Ops Fellow with Michigan AFL-CIO Workforce Development Institute. And part of the My Healthy Climate Fellows, which is so really proud of one of our own coming on, and that's a program run through Office of Climate and Energy. Previously was a Research and Policy Associate at the Women's Earth and Climate Action Network, Bachelor's in Arts and Sustainability and the Environment, and a certificate in Agroecology. So you're going to have a friend there, and Dr. Boring, from Florida International University. Masters of Art. How many degrees do you have? Masters of Arts in Global Sustainability and Certificate in Sustainable Tourism from the University of South Florida. And you are appointed and have been appointed and have accepted the job of succeeding Tanya Kozlowski. Big shoes to follow, but that's on the same term as Peck and Carrie. Starts August 20th, 2025, expires February 3rd, 2029. Do we say Mary Elizabeth or?
Call me Mary Liz for short.
Mary Liz, okay. Welcome, Mary Liz. Glad to have you here. Okay, let's do attendance now that I'm adapting and getting my script right here. I'm going to call out your name, and if you're here, you can just say here and say hello. And for some of you, we have some cabinet members who may have a designee on the line. So if the department director isn't on and you want to just say I'm representing the department, that'd be great. Frank Bieber.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Director.
Good to see you, Frank. Dr. Boring here from MDAR.
Hello.
Great to see you, my friend. Director Bowen from DNR, I think was not able to come as maybe Scott Whitcomb.
Yeah, Scott's here for DNR.
All right, thanks, Scott. Good to see you. I think Director Corbin from
Audio
Rio.
conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID.
Okay. Is Director Boren or Director Corbin here? Or looks like
Here.
maybe Kate Bell?
Yep.
Oh,
On her behalf, yes.
you're Kate?
Yep.
Yeah, good.
If
Good to
you're
see
the
you.
meeting organizer, press star now.
Should have just had AI conduct this meeting. It would go on more smoothly. And we had electronic
What if he has
voices
a
like
deer
that that we could
I'm enjoying it.
really look up to. Carrie Dugan is here. Mary Liz is here. Rachel Eubanks, Director Eubanks, Treasurer. Any representatives from the Treasury Department? Okay. Jim Harrison, looks like is not able to attend. Just double checking, Jim. Director Hertel from DHHS.
Aaron Ferguson
Maybe
is
Aaron
on.
Ferguson? Yeah.
Yep. I'm on for Director Hertel. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for being here, Aaron. Brandon Hoffmeister.
I'm here. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you, Brandon. Marnise Jackson.
Hi, I'm here.
Hey, Marnise.
Hey.
Kevin Kolovar from Dow. I see decline meeting. Any designate from Kevin? No? Phyllis Meadows.
I am here.
Good to see your initials at least. And it's good to see you a week or so ago in the meeting in Detroit. Quentin Messer, MEDC, or Steve Bacall, I think, maybe. Or anybody else? No? Grace McKinsey.
Here.
Hey, Grace. Good to see you. We know that Peck is here. Lana Pollock.
Hello.
Hi, Lana.
Hi. see
Dan Scripps.
Background there.
MPSC. Dan Scripps. Okay, Darrell Slaughter. No Darrell. Sam Stolper.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Director Roos.
Hey, good to see you, Brad. Good to hear your voice. Or Sam. I'm on to my next one. Brad Wyfrick or somebody from MDOT.
Zach Rabel is here from MDOT.
Thanks for joining, Zach.
Yep.
And Cynthia Williams from Ford. Maybe Corey Von Aken. Anybody from Ford? Okay, I think we're a wrap. Do we even care about quorums? I'm going to call that a quorum.
I think that's it.
All right, we have taken attendance. Now we can adopt today's meeting agenda that was sent to everybody, I think on Tuesday of last week. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda from one of the council members?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boring. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, thanks, Kate. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Rousing approval. Anybody opposed or abstentions? Okay, minutes for, or the agenda for today's meeting is approved then. Now we have minutes from the February 25th meeting, which you also should have gotten in the email from this past Tuesday. Hope you had a chance to review that. Can I have a call, can I get a motion to approve that, those minutes?
So moved.
Oh, boy.
Whatever.
Way to go. I'm glad you showed up.
Aye.
That makes it a lot easier. Support for that? Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Kate, you know, I'm looking your
We
way.
got a whole thing going.
Yeah, I know. We're in trouble. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, it's approved. So we have an action-packed day today. We're going to hear, first of all, as we always do, updates on the OCE, the Office of Climate and Energy's work to implement the My Healthy Climate Plan. We're going to have somebody else new, who I'll introduce in a minute, deliver some of those remarks. And then next, we're going to hear from Eric Palm. We're going to talk a little bit about regenerative agriculture today. Eric works at MDARD, and Director Boring and many others on the MDARD team have been really big proponents, advocates for regenerative agriculture. So we're going to hear about the work they're doing. And then the third and final presentation will be from Chris Brady, who's Director of the Technical Assistance Center, and Cassie Rowlands, Elective Pay Program Manager, with information on the Elective Pay and the Elective Pay Ambassador Program, and that's led through MIO, our Michigan Infrastructure Office. So what you're going to hear, we're trying to do more and more of this, is just to have all of the different areas within state government just share what the heck's happening, what kind of progress are we making, so that we can track that, be inspired by it, come up with ideas about gaps that we have that we may need to address. And then from time to time, as you've seen, sometimes it might be people in industry or labor or others who are part of this work. We all understand this isn't the Office of Climate and Energy that is in charge of everything climate. We really have an all-government approach on all levels of government, and private sector, public sector, and every sector in between. We all have to be part of this. I'm going to give one quick update and then make a couple introductions. I do want to acknowledge we had a bit of challenging news. You probably have all heard it by now, but recently the US EPA announced that they are canceling the $7 billion grant program designed to help low and moderate income households gain access to solar energy. That's the Solar for All program. And as part of that, our $156 million program to focus on that effort to direct investment for rooftop solar, community solar energy storage, and upgrades, as well as a workforce development component of it, community education. This is such a key part of bringing the benefits. We're no longer in the theoretical stage of the My Healthy Climate Plan. We are about getting the benefits of this in the hands of everyday Michiganders, and particularly those who need it most as a particular focus. So we got news that the government, that EPA is canceling that. We are ahead of the game relative to other states because we have announced, we've already awarded, or announced at least, close to $14 million in awards through a sort of a pilot program to try to get money out the door and get some of these benefits into people's hands, and also just to sort of demonstrate the impact it can have. If you look at the list of counties represented by that $14 million in grants, it's red counties, blue counties, everything in between. It's urban areas, rural areas. It's really just very thoughtfully done, and some really amazing applicants who received notice of their awards. And of course, now we've had to pause that. And that's really a shame because, this is a program that has, the estimates are that it's going to save about $400 per person who is part of the program in their energy bill. And we're at a time, last I heard, where we're worried about inflation. Energy prices have gone up. This is the last thing we need to go away. It would create lots of jobs, 700 jobs. It would be many thousands of people served across the state. And the last I heard also, we're supposedly in an energy emergency. And it seems like when we're in an energy emergency, probably the last thing we should be doing is cutting a program that is about helping to alleviate some of that with a low-cost form of energy accessible to people on their homes or near their homes. And that's where we're at. We have been under discussions with the Attorney General's office, and there will be a response on this. So we're not assuming that this just goes away, not without a fight at least. And we've had some luck in some of the other things that have been cut in the past. So stay tuned to that. Okay, enough of the bad news here. I want to make a couple introductions. First, I want everybody to meet, if you haven't already, Ann Larson, who's relatively new. Now, you can't really say that much longer. It's like 6 months now, right?
Yeah, almost. So.
Deputy Director for our department. So she has all of the offices, including Office of Climate and Energy, are part of her kingdom, I guess.
I like that kingdom.
Do you want to just give a brief introduction to you?
Oh, sure.
and where you
Yeah,
come
I'm
from and
actually
all that?
coming from Washington State after 20 years working in the sustainability space. And so, yeah, as Phil said, the director said, I've been here since March and overseeing our public offices. So it's a real pleasure to be here. So thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. Glad you're here. And then Tom Zimnicki, are you on the line somewhere?
I think a conflict came up. He wasn't able to.
Okay, all right. For those who hadn't met Tom is the new governor's new energy or environment and energy policy advisor. And he comes from the advocacy world. He's very knowledgeable on a number of our issues, and not just climate, but a lot of environmental issues that we work on as a group. But also he's a strong advocate for climate action, and he's been really helpful so far. And he's just been a good voice for us and kind of bolster the expertise in the Gov's office, which has really been great for us, having a thought partner on some of the things we're working on. So we're really happy to have Tom here. And then I want to finally introduce the relatively new Chief Climate Officer and head of the Office of Climate and Energy for the state of Michigan, Alessandra or Ale Carrion. And I'll just say we're really lucky to have somebody with her incredible mix of background from, she's got an MBA, and she's worked in the private sector. That's really helpful, I find, like a fellow MBA. And it's nice to be able to understand business and the economy and how things work, but also some real policy chops in this area, Rocky Mountain Institute. Many of you know her from her role as a commissioner of the Michigan Public Service Commission. So utility regulation, just to have that kind of expertise, and I'll let you fill in the details, but I always say too many. I've introduced her about 10 times. So I always say too much, but do you want to just say hello and anything else?
No, that's a great intro, and it relieves me from having to add much more, because I think you covered the highlights, but I'm really excited to be here. I'm really eager to continue my now career's work in sustainability, climate, decarbonization, and a clean and equitable energy transition. So also glad that you all will get to hear from each member of the team at OCE today with our updates, who are doing the work currently that I get to help contribute to now. But yes, the arc of my career has been in sustainability at Ford, transportation decarbonization at RMI, and then most recently at the Michigan Public Service Commission. So glad to be here and glad to meet the council, who I see as a partner in our work and making sure that we implement the goals of my health. So.
And I just say something else that I really value about your background and perspective is the idea of centering equity in all the work. And that's the overarching pillar of the My Healthy Climate Plan. And so it just feels really good to have a person in this role who is a champion for those values. Appreciate it. All right. Part of my sloppiness so far is that I got some new family news. My mother-in-law is, I don't know if this is her last day, but we're really close to it. So I'm going to leave this meeting early, but I wanted to at least say hello, and I'm going to head to Chicago and hope to get to see her and then see you all again soon. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie. And thanks you all for being here, and on with the program.
Thank you, Phil.
Good luck with that.
All right. Hi, everyone. Julia Field. I'm the Deputy Chief Climate Officer here. I'm actually going to, well, as Phil walked through in the agenda, the first agenda item is the Office of Climate and Energy updates related to our My Healthy Climate Plan progress and implementation.
I'm going to pass it. Do you want to give this one, Ollie? I can. So
Pass it to me?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you were gonna. Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, we've divided
Yes.
the slides today, so you're hearing from multiple people on the team. So first, kick it back to Ollie for
Yes.
a conference update.
Yes. This is a quick one. This is a save the date for our 2026 My Healthy Climate Conference on Tuesday, April 21st, same place as this year, Huntington Place. And we had over 900 attendees this year. We hope that this will be as big, if not bigger. And also it's the last year of branding as a My Healthy Climate Conference under Governor Whitmer's administration. So really hope to see you all there. And one quick note I will say too is that I hope that by the end of our OCE updates, that if anyone has questions or feedback or just, has a desire to talk through some aspect of our work, that we did, make sure we reserved some time for healthy conversation. So really look forward to all of your questions. I will pass this on now to.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Back to me. All right. Thanks, Ollie. One main project that we have funding from the EPA, their climate pollution reduction grant program. There's a planning grant that helps us further refine analysis in the My Healthy Climate Plan and continue engagement with stakeholders and with communities. And so an update on this grant, we have a deliverable due to the EPA December of this year. It's the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. It follows the Priority Climate Action Plan, which you all may remember came out over a year ago, I think winter of 2023. Accenture was the consultant we had to develop this deliverable, and they submitted a draft to the office, which we're working on edits, and we plan to circulate to, if you all recall, we created a sub-cabinet of all the state departments that are on the Council of Climate Solutions, and that sub-cabinet will help us with feedback and edits as well. This document helped, we updated with greenhouse gas targets that are related to the My Healthy Climate Plan, that come from the My Healthy Climate Plan, and they're sector specific. We added projections, which we hadn't done analysis on this before, as well as some other benefits analysis. And we also, before, we didn't include the pillars around waste and natural and working lands, which are now included in this Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. Those were in the My Healthy Climate Plan, to be clear, but they weren't in that Priority Climate Action Plan that was due to the EPA earlier. In terms of community engagement that this grant has helped support, we've held key stakeholder meetings for each pillar of the My Healthy Climate Plan. We're halfway through those. We did an engagement session at the My Healthy Climate Conference, which you see pictured on the left there, where we had posters out and an engagement activity and circulated a survey to get input on some of the reduction measures in this Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. We regularly meet with tribes, Grand Valley Metro Council, and SEMCOG, which are also recipients of this same grant from EPA. And we're planning in November a second of 2 collaborative planning sessions for equitable and just climate action. That's being done in coordination with our Office of Environmental Justice Public Advocate. We don't have the date exactly figured out yet, but when we do, we'll be sure to share that with you all in case you're interested in attending. All right. Similar to that grant program, we have another EPA grant, which we actually presented to you all a year ago. We won $129 million from the EPA to create the Renewables Ready Communities program. You can see the main components listed on this slide. The 2 big pieces are that it expands EGLE's Renewables Ready Communities Award pilot. It's an ongoing pilot program, and it will create a new pilot program that's a brownfield renewable energy pilot. The update here is, unfortunately, there isn't a ton of update because we are waiting for legislative approval before we have the authority to spend these funds. And that approval is tied up in the state budget process. And so it's something we're tracking very closely and hope to have a more positive update at our next council meeting in November. But in good news, so I mentioned that this will expand an existing pilot program, the Renewables Ready Communities Awards. This was created through a $30 million budget allocation through Governor Whitmer's Public Act 119 of 2023. What this pilot program is a $5,000 per megawatt award to local units of government that permit and or host utility scale renewable energy projects. So far, in about a year plus of existence, this pilot program has expended $26 million across 48 awards, which represents more than 5,000 megawatts of projects that are being built. Just to pull out one of those examples, on the right, you see a project they're getting ready to develop in Coldwater Township. They received 3 Renewable Ready Communities Awards. And these award funds are helping the township buy tornado sirens, fire department upgrades, fund roads, playgrounds, parks, and a town hall expansion. And you see just a quote on the far right there from the township supervisor, Donald Rogers, who said, "These awards will significantly enhance our financial bottom line. It was very important to work with the renewable energy companies to have these projects in our township, keeping in mind the impact they may have on our residents." So overall, really positive program. And we'll throw a link to this in the meeting chat. But you can actually see where these awards have been distributed across the state with this neat GIS map that Eagle's GIS team put together. So I encourage you all to take a look at that. And you can see both what types of projects the incentive has gone towards, be it energy storage, wind or solar, and then some of the intended use of those awards by the communities that receive them. All right, and with that, I will pass it over to Maggie Knight on our team. Maggie, are you online?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you all for having us today. Wanted to share a brief update about the Michigan Justice 4D Accelerator. So very excited to share we're in our 10th month of the program. We launched last October 2024. This was really informed throughout the development of the My Healthy Climate Plan, as well as through the Michigan Advisory Council on Environmental Justice to help support communities throughout the state in building long-term funding and capacity for community-based organizations that are serving Michigan environmental justice communities, with the overarching goal being that we're moving towards our My Healthy Climate Plan goals in a just and equitable manner. So now that we are in our 10th month of the program, we can share a bit more about the impact. And this has supported 25 community-based organizations via stipends, one-on-one program support, training sessions, technical assistance, and regular engagement. Since launching, we've had 12 workshops and engagement events, with one more upcoming session in September and an end-of-year celebration in October. We've had 2 in-person gatherings with the full cohort. You can see here one of the gatherings from early February of this year. Another was at the Michigan Healthy Climate Conference in late April. Cohort members have also applied to date for, or in progress to apply for, over 40 grants to help support their work, and over 32 connections have been made to Michigan technical assistance providers around the state. All of this to help enable their work in their communities to be able to move forward and keep us moving towards our My Healthy Climate Plan goals. We've also heard a lot of fantastic feedback from cohort members. We're really looking forward to sharing more about that as we close out in October and share some of the feedback from that in the coming months after. Go to the next slide. Wanted to uplift one of our amazing cohort members as well today. This is Naisha Clark-Young, who's the Director for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion for Saginaw's Community Alliance for the People and the Michigan Health Improvement Alliance. Environmental justice is a core aspect to their missions. Throughout their organization's participation in the Justice 4D Accelerator program, they've applied to a number of different grant opportunities and successfully received the Environmental Justice Impact Grant, which is managed by Eagle's Office of the Environmental Justice Public Advocate. That is supporting their Resilient Roots initiative in Saginaw, and it'll empower residents to address environmental challenges and advocate for improved public health. Naisha also particularly uplifted that via the Justice 4D Accelerator cohort community and the resources that she's had access to, that she's learned about other opportunities that might not have been on her radar otherwise, and has been able to then apply for and receive those opportunities, including the Healthy Community Zones grant through MDHHS. So quick shout out to Naisha for her amazing work in her community, and we're looking forward to hearing more from the rest of the cohort. Thank you, Julia.
Hi everyone, my name is Haley Neuenfeld. I'm going to just provide a quick update on the My Healthy Climate Challenge. A quick recap, the My Healthy Climate Challenge aims to mobilize stakeholders and build partnerships across the state, leverage public and private funding, and target key barriers to clean energy deployment, all in works to accelerate the implementation of the My Healthy Climate Plan. So the challenge launched on April 22nd.
2025 at the My Healthy Climate Conference with Challenge 1 Solar for Savings. I'm gonna go to the next timeline slide. So high level, Solar for Savings provides up to $26 million to fund pilot projects for the My Solar for All pilot program, including both residential rooftop solar projects and residential serving community solar projects. Solar for Savings has 3 review rounds. The first one was May 30th, the second on June 30th, and the third on September 30th. The second challenge, Unlocking Elective Pay, launched on August 4th, 2025, and final applications are due on November 2nd, 2025. We're still developing the final 2 challenges of the My Healthy Climate Challenge, and they'll likely be announced within the next 2 to 6 months. So more Unlocking Elective Pay. This is a $2 million grant program that's providing funding for aggregation, financing, project development, or technical support. And this is to enable elective pay access for tax-exempt entities in Michigan. Cassie and Chris will give a deeper dive into elective pay at the end of this, so I won't go too far into that. But this particular grant program is not funding for just individual clean energy projects, but rather the tools to support the scaled uptake of elective pay. So this challenge involves concept papers to help determine if the project fits within the parameters of the grant and to help provide feedback to applicants to facilitate stronger applications. These concept papers are due on the 31st, Sunday, August 31st, and then the full applications will be due on November 2nd again. So Solar for Saving, or My Solar for All. So at the beginning of the month, high level, the My Solar for All program transitioned from the Office of Climate and Energy to the Material Management Division. This doesn't change the program, and it was just made to better improve internal processes. And as Director Ruth mentioned at the beginning, at the program, the US EPA announced plans to cancel the $7 billion grant program, Solar for All. And the My Solar for All program received a termination letter. So the My Solar for Savings pilots are currently paused. But I do want to provide just an update to as to where they are before that termination letter was received. So for round 1, there were 28 pilot applications reviewed. 8 pilots were selected and over $7 million was allocated. This included 3 residential rooftop projects and 5 residential serving community solar projects. And this graphic represents where the projects are located, and I'll go over that too in a little more detail. For round 2, there were 46 applications reviewed. 5 pilots were selected with over $6 million allocated, including 1 residential project and 4 residential serving community solar projects. This information is all available online, but I do want to give just a high-level overview to give an idea of the types of projects that were awarded funds through this program. So Hope Village is located in Wayne County. Their plan was to retrofit 10 homes in Detroit and Highland Park with solar storage and heat pumps with direct cost savings. Southwest Housing Solutions applied for a grant for solar on a 60-unit multifamily housing for low-income and formerly homeless seniors, with benefits funding part of the time for a service coordinator. Superior Watershed applied for a grant for solar on 15 households and 5 with storage, and will provide the benefits through direct cost savings. The City of Ann Arbor applied for a grant for solar on 20 households with the option to own, or for Ann Arbor's sustainable energy utility to own and provide direct cost savings. Again, this is including round 1 and round 2 residential rooftop solar awards. There were more residential serving community solar awards. So there's 2 slides for this, but including both round 1 and 2. Round 1, the City of Benton Harbor applied for solar at 3 facilities, including 1 that will serve as a resiliency hub, and the benefits will be provided on city water bills. Hillsdale applied for solar at a municipal airport with benefits provided on utility bills. The Intertribal Council of Michigan applied for solar and storage at 12 residential homes and a community building, and the benefits will be provided as direct bill savings or through community programs focused on energy assistance or food security. Lowell Light and Power applied for solar canopies installed over the park parking lot with benefits provided as direct bill savings. And North End Woodward Community Coalition applied to expand their solar neighbors initiatives to 2 new hub sites owned by a community trust with the benefits delivered through energy bill assistance programs. So those are for round 1. And to round it up for the round 2 residential serving awards, in round 2 there were 4. The city of Cadillac applied for solar and storage at a wastewater treatment plant and 1 water pump station with benefits provided through city utility bills. The city of Escanaba applied for solar at an undeveloped brownfield with benefits shared through utility bill credits. First United Methodist Church of Holland applied for solar at the church with benefits provided to those facing housing insecurity, and Wayne State University applied for solar on a newly renovated building with benefits shared with eligible low-income beneficiaries in areas near campus. So really great projects, really great benefits going to community members all around.
And I'll just quick emphasize that unfortunately all that work is currently paused because of the termination, but we felt it important to share the projects that had been slated to be awarded because we're really proud of the projects that were turned in and the final ones we selected. So wanted to make sure we shared it with you all. These came out of 2 press releases, so we can also put those links in the chat. Next to Jordan.
Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. My name is Jordan Power, and I'm really excited to share a snapshot of a program I'm really proud to be involved in, the My Healthy Climate Fellows. We've talked about this program with this group before, but to ground us in the goals of the program, it's to unlock the power of Michigan communities to take equitable and bold climate action, as well as support communities and connecting these, tried and true community institutions and group serving communities to statewide climate agenda, connect them to the climate plan, as well as key resources to help get those projects off the ground and continue. And then also building leaders, so developing an enduring, capable network of climate change professionals committed to Michigan's sustainable future. To do this, we pair these passionate, motivated fellows with organizations across the state that have applied with projects in mind that they wanted to have added capacity to get to advance goals of the My Healthy Climate Plan. We've started the program in March 2024. 1 cohort has completed, and I think I've seen the signs of its success already. Over a third of the fellows were hired to continue working in the host sites that they were serving in, which was really exciting. I also continually run into fellows out in the real world, from hearing about a food composting program here in the city of Lansing at, city council meetings. Kayla sitting over there helping support OCE still, and people presenting at conferences. And then of course, here we have Mary Liz, a new board member. So excited to see the success of the program so far. We're coming to an end of the current cohort in mid-October. And I'll just say that I'm really inspired by this group of folks, both the host partners that we work with and the fellows. We've had unprecedented uncertainty through this program. In April, we received a stop work order all AmeriCorps programs received a stop work order. And so we were able to get really creative and found one-time support to continue the program independently of AmeriCorps, and are able to post a final cohort for 2026. This cohort, we anticipate to have around 12 placements compared to our normal 30 that we've had in the past 2 cohorts. Like in the past, they'll continue to serve full time and really help to achieve those goals I mentioned at the start. Host partner applications are currently open through the end of September, and we can share information about how to apply for that. So September 30th is the deadline to apply to be a host partner. I know a lot of people in this room, and I think on the call as well, have participated in the program in the past. I know we're hearing from MDARD's Regenerative Ag group later, and they're hosting a fellow, so it's exciting to see the connections there. So anyway, apply by September 30th if you're interested. We are also holding an informational webinar on the program and the application process on September 3rd from 10 to 11. So please join us there. And then we'll open fellow applications later in the fall. With that, I'd like to pass it over to our very own climate fellow, Hallie over there, to really dig into some of the stories of fellows doing work around the state.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hallie Mumford, the My Healthy Climate Fellow at the Office of Climate Energy, as Jordan said. I'm the Climate Initiative Program Coordinator for the office, and I primarily help with stakeholder engagement. I'm so happy I get the opportunity to share with you about previous and current fellows participating in climate work throughout the state because of the program. To start, we have Jessica Austin, who was a part of the inaugural Michigan Healthy Climate Corps. Her host site was the West Michigan Environmental Action Council, and she was their Climate Solutions Associate in Grand Rapids. She is currently doing similar work there now, and her position provides her with the unique opportunity of working in and with the community that she grew up in. Before joining the Corps, Jessica was a safety engineer by trade and a small business owner of Creative Carvings. Her small business actually led her to discover the My Healthy Climate Corps opportunity through a newsletter. She wanted to learn how to minimize waste and gained interest in everything sustainability and environment related. While I was talking with Jessica, she emphasized that community is a cornerstone of change in this field, and to accomplish everything, we need partnership, collaboration, and inclusive spaces. This sentiment is seen in her roles and responsibilities, which were and are focused on engaging and educating the community. Her position touches on these three pillars of the My Healthy Climate Plan. She helps and works on many projects, initiatives, and work streams here at the West Michigan Environmental Action Council. One of them is Cultivate the Community, which is a program that allows participants to learn about nature-based restoration solutions to create a stronger and healthier community. And then here are some events for the program. This gathered feedback on folks' familiarity with green stormwater infrastructure. This one, focused on how restoring natural habitats can benefit your community. And then this final event was part of the Eco Explorers program targeted at teaching youth about this environment. And then next we have Crystal. She was a part of cohort 1 and is currently a part of cohort 2. Her host site is at the Lake Superior Watershed Conservancy in Marquette, where she works as an energy technician. A little bit about her is that she graduated from Michigan State with a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics in 2018. She knew she liked science and wanted to help people, but didn't know exactly what path to take to pursue these two interests until after graduation, where she discovered her desire to work in the environmental field. She decided to apply for this program because she was at a point of transition in her career and took this opportunity to learn more and gain experience in environmental work, environmental justice, and conservation. Her current position as an energy technician allows her to combine these three interests and also touches on these three pillars. She described that there are two facets to what she does: energy and climate. The energy portion of her position allows her to go to homes throughout the UP to do energy audits and provides assistance to make homes energy efficient. She shares resources with residents about home repairs, and they are providing solar to a few homes who are income qualified. The climate aspect of her position involves environmental monitoring. They're doing a community environmental management program, which monitors the land and water around the Eagle Mine in Bay, Michigan, on the land of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community. Here, they collect samples and are compiling data to make complete reports to share with the public of the effects of the mine on the natural environment. Last summer, she also led a group of teens in the Conservation Corps who are part of the Keweenaw Bay Indian Community Tribe. They learned about conservation and environmental monitoring and were able to receive experiential learning opportunities throughout their education. And then this was her youth tribe. And then finally we have Charlotte, who is, finally we have Charlotte, who is a fellow in cohort 2. They're placed at Eagle's very own Environmental Services Division, working as a school climate liaison. They graduated from MSU in 2021 with a degree in education, and their first position out of school was as an assistant language teacher in Japan. While in Japan, they received a permaculture design certification and got their experience in teaching and education. This led them to merge two ideas into thinking about how we can mitigate the effects of climate change and encourage sustainability in a school environment. After their time in Japan, Charlotte came back to the States and chose to apply and accept the My Healthy Climate Fellow position because it was the only position they saw that put these two topics together. Their position relates to the plan through all the pillars through their project that they're working on, which is the Green School Action Guide. This guide provides 5 components to help students, teachers, administrators, and concerned community members, such as parents and guardians, to implement sustainable practices at school buildings, starting with their immediate needs first. Projects listed in this guide as examples range from green stormwater infrastructure to community gardens, putting solar on roofs. Charlotte talked about how this is important due to how the school environment impacts those who spend their days there teaching and learning. In other words, teachers and students. We are seeing the damage being done to communities and schools. In those communities, Charlotte gave me this example seen on the screen, where an elementary school in Fruitport had its roof blown off in a storm this year, and their position helps provide the tools required to create resiliency of these spaces, which is really unique. So communities can bounce back from extreme weather like this. And then the trend that they're seeing is that community members at a grassroots level are initiating this work, which is leading to implementation. And thank you.
Great, thanks, Hallie. That's a wrap for the OCE updates. We did want to leave time for questions if there are any, and especially of Ally and her new role. So we can open it up for questions if folks have any.
Yeah, I'm curious if any of the council members or anyone in the room has either feedback for OC broadly. I think as you can all see, everyone is working really hard on the implementation side of the My Healthy Climate Plan, and we have some wonderful stories that we can tell. There are many more stories where that came from, but I'm particularly curious to hear what's exciting to council members, if there are any things that are particularly of interest broadly, and this is selfishly for my benefit, but it's also just a way to help re-engage new people too. So I know we're pretty much maybe about 5 minutes behind our schedule. We'll make up the time for sure without compromising our guests' presentations. But yes, if there are any questions or comments, certainly welcome those now.
When will challenge 3 and challenge 4 be announced? Do you know that? We don't know the exact date yet, but we are hoping within the fall, early winter.
Let's see, where's
Yeah, Lana?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I think I'm going to probably be repeating this in future meetings too. And I'm going to start by saying, we all know who Abrego Garcia is, right? It brings a sense of problem, a human being. I'm not hearing any stories. I'm hearing programs, statistics. I'm interested. The council should have it. So I'm not saying that your reporting out isn't important or informative, but you can talk about 1,000 people who were sent away to some terrible camp, or you can talk about one man. And which one are you going to remember? So somehow, as things get harder, and they'll continue to be hard, I think, as we try and rebuild the government and the sensibility and the importance of the work you're doing, and you're doing it well, we're going to have to be much better storytellers, and that's everybody. So I'm really hoping that at the next council meeting, there'll be at least one story that I won't be able to forget. Not a number that I have to try and remember, but a story of the value or the need. It can be triumph or tragedy, but I'd love it if you would start building stories into your reports. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much for your good work. It is great work, and it's so important, and I want to get it back, but as we know, it's all in danger. So we have to be really good about how we say and persuade people that this is too important. This one is too important to cut. Questions? Comments?
Thank you, Lana. We'll definitely, we take that to heart. We included more examples per your previous comments on this, but we can do better to tell stronger stories. We hear you.
Absolutely. And I really looked because the fellows, you had programs, you had some pictures of programs. It needs to be more granular. That's why I mentioned one man's name that tells in this, on a different topic. I mentioned one man, and that tells a huge amount, offers a huge amount of information. And so if we can start with the story of somebody or some organization, but hopefully a human being or a family, yeah. So you're getting close, and I don't want to be negative, and I am enormously, I'm impressed with what Michigan is doing and has been doing. And Phil's leadership, your good work, I really am impressed, but I'm worried about building the importance of this work into the consciousness of at a time that this work is so easy, apparently so easily dismissed and cut, and so we got to keep at it and not give up. Thank you.
Thank you. Grace, and then we may have to save other questions towards the end so we can have enough time for the MDAG presentation. But Grace, we'll take your question.
Yeah, of course. This should be quick. First off, thank you so much for the presentation. I apologize, I had to walk away for a call for just a second in the middle of the presentation. So I'm sorry if this was brought up and I just missed it, but my understanding is that this was talked about pretty extensively on the Council on Future Mobility and Electrification recently, but one of the climate plan goals as kind of a lead by example opportunity and recommendations that was in the climate plan was around state fleet electrification. My understanding is that they've run into some roadblocks despite the state funding that was allocated for that over at DTMB, where they've been having trouble getting some of the department coordinators to actually take up some of that fleet electrification funding. Again, I think there are people who could explain this problem like much better than I could. But I just wanted to alert this group just because of our goals of implementing climate plan priorities. And also just ask if the Office of Climate and Energy has been looped in with DTMB at all on this. Just wanted more departments to be aware of the issue, essentially.
I can say, yeah, we're participating in work groups with other state agencies, and so we are closely tracking that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Great. Yeah, I figured that was the case. I just wanted to highlight it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Grace, and thanks for bringing it to awareness for the rest of the council. All right. Apologies we have to cut this short, but I do hope we have time for all questions at the end. But with that, I'd love to pass it over to Eric Palm, who's the Regenerative Agriculture Program Manager at the Bureau of Environment and Sustainability at MDARD. He's in charge of, he's going to talk to us more today about regenerative agriculture, and I'm going to change my slides once I figure out how to. There we go. All right. Eric, are you on the line?
Excuse me, I am on the line. Do you want me to share my presentation?
I have the slides up now, but I can pass it over to you if you prefer. Just let me know your preference.
Okay, that's fine. We can work through it together.
All right. Great. Can you see that I changed slides?
Yes. Yep. It came up on my screen. So yeah, late last week, Hallie Hill reached out and said this group was looking for a presenter. So I was able to accommodate. I just hope that my presentation hits the mark for this group here today. As she said, my name is Eric Palm. I was hired in as the Regenerative Agriculture Program Manager in 2024. So that program was launched at that time. And so my goal here today is to explain to everybody, what regenerative agriculture is, what are our program goals, and what's to come in the future. A little bit about myself. I was born on a row crop farm in the Saginaw Valley. I've spent 15 years in the conservation agriculture / natural resource management world, working for conservation districts, Natural Resources Conservation Service. I spent time working on ecological restoration projects, and I started with MDART about 3.5 years ago, which led to me getting hired on as a program manager for the Regen Ag program. Next slide. So what is regenerative agriculture? MDARD, we created our own definition of regenerative agriculture as an active approach to land management driven by improving soil health. Rather than a rigid set of rules, it embraces a blend of sustainable farming methods tailored to each farmer's needs. The mission for the unit, our mission is to champion a regenerative approach to agriculture, resulting in greater farmer prosperity, improved farm ecosystems, increased community health, and vibrant food systems in the Great Lakes region. Next slide. So it's important to note that while many of the practices we discuss have been done for many years, regenerative agriculture focuses on the whole system in implementing as many supporting practices as possible to best support the soil microbiology and repair the water, mineral, and energy cycles. And what's that's referring to is, conservation agriculture isn't necessarily a new thing. Trying to protect the soil and prevent soil erosion. Really, you had a lot of support after the Dust Bowl, but the way it's been treated is kind of prescription based. So if a producer, has a soil erosion issue, cover crops might be a prescription to solve that issue. But in regenerative agriculture, we're taking into account cover crops aren't necessarily just doing one thing. And I'm going to talk about those other things later in this presentation. So it is truly a more holistic approach. So soil function, many of you might have heard the term soil health before, and essentially what that term is getting at is soil function. So if we want to restore soil health, we want to restore soil functionality. And actually, soil microbes play a big role in soil health and control about 90% of soil functionality. They play a big role in nutrient cycling, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. They help form soil aggregates, and soil aggregates are really the foundation to soil health. Those aggregates, they have pore spaces for air, allow water to be stored and to infiltrate deeper into the soil. And a fun fact, those soil aggregates aren't static in the soil. They're actually constantly changing and falling apart and re-aggregated. So there's always, soil aggregation is always in the process of occurring through the growing season. Next slide. So next up, I want to talk about the principles of soil health and regenerative agriculture. The first one that I want to mention is understanding the context of a farm. Next slide. So context is important. It's just taking into account, what's the farm made up of? What's its location, soil types, what kind of crops are being grown on the farm, different livestock. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but it's important to note that all of these different contextual items, they shouldn't be used then as an excuse for not implementing these regenerative practices and trying to rebuild soil health on a farm. We do hear that a lot. You know, my soils aren't conducive to, you know, the principles of soil health. And that's really not true. These principles can be applied to all farms. And to rebuild soil health, you don't necessarily have to implement all of these practices all at one time. You know, you can take small incremental steps to rebuilding soil health on a farm. Next slide. The next principle is maximizing diversity on a farm. So this principle is probably a little more abstract than the other principles, but essentially we know, especially through studies in biology, an increase in diversity increases productivity and literally can increase biomass production in an ecosystem. But essentially, increasing diversity is filling all of those different ecosystem services and niches within those ecosystems. So you're creating a more efficient transfer of nutrients. And we see this on farms as they diversify. You see that increased productivity, and you're also, you know, that increase in diversity is also doing things like breaking pest cycles on a farm. You know, when you have monocultures year after year being grown, those pests that attack those species tend to build up over time. But when you can rotate into a different crop or start adding in cover crops to break up those pest cycles, you're really restoring that soil health and ecosystem health. Next slide. Another principle, maintaining a living root year round. So when you maintain a living root in the soil, you're building organic matter, you're improving water infiltration, and you're supporting those microbes under the soil. Next slide.
Oh, sorry. Haley, do you know if, one moment. I don't think the rest of them copied over. So do you by any chance have your slides up, Eric? It looks like we did.
I do. Yeah.
Could you start resharing? I don't think we copied over all of them.
Of course. Yep. It looks like
Sorry about that,
you just need to let me present there and it should pop up.
Do you have the option to share your screen? There you go. Now we see it. Thank you.
You see it? Okay, great. Let me jump up to that slide.
We always have one technical difficulty, so this is the one we're allotted today.
Well, this has been this is the 7th principle of the Regen Ag program, is adapting on the fly. So I'm used to doing that. All right, and I really wanted to share this slide. I love this slide. This is based off of a prairie plant, plants in a prairie ecosystem. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before, but it's just important to note that about 70% of that organic matter that's being built in a soil happens underneath the soil surface. And I wish I could find a slide that shows mycorrhizal fungi as part of, you know, that under the soil plant community, because you can kind of imagine that fungi just being incorporated into all of these plant roots and tying all of these together. All right, next slide.
In your court
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have bragged so fast about adapting on the fly. All right, the fourth principle, minimizing soil disturbance. I think this principle is probably a more classical principle with conservation agriculture, again, going back to like preventing soil erosion. But aside from tillage, you can think about chemical applications disturbing the soil, especially with like modern fungicides being sprayed on a soil and potentially, killing. It's not only going to prevent those funguses occurring on the plants, your crop species that you're trying to grow, but it's also going to attack those funguses, those beneficial funguses in the soil too. So actively trying to minimize that soil disturbance. Otherwise, you're damaging that soil structure when you till. You're reducing organic matter and carbon in the soil. When you expose the soil to oxygen, that really gets the soil microbes really active, and they'll literally just eat the organic matter out of your soil. It'll also, stir up those weeds that have been buried in your soil. So it's basically that never-ending hamster wheel, the tillage hamster wheel. Essentially, you're literally always stirring up problems. All right, the fifth principle, keeping the soil covered. So a good analogy with keeping the soil covered, having growing plants on the soil, is comparing it to your skin. So it's going to moderate temperature swings, allow microbes to function, to cycle nutrients. It's also going to armor the soil. So you can think of a raindrop falling down on the soil and that plant, that residue being on the surface to break up that impact. So it's not loosening up soil on the surface. It's also going to outcompete weed species. And you can think back to that slide with all those roots, talking about the roots underneath the soil surface, building 70% of the organic matter. You have that other 30% of organic matter building occurring on the soil surface. And you can see this temperature gauge here on the left side. You can see when you're protecting the soil and keeping it cooler, it's utilizing more of that soil moisture and allowing those soil microbes and bacteria to thrive. As you increase temperature, you are being less efficient with that moisture in the soil. And after about 140 degrees, you're going to start seeing a lot of those soil bacteria actually die. And the final principle of regenerative agriculture, integrating livestock. So integrating livestock in agriculture system, can actually really speed up the process of rebuilding soil health. And I can feel confident saying that. These slides are actually from one of my staff members. These are her chickens and her livestock herd. She said on her own farm, within about 5 years, they were able to increase soil organic matter content on a lot of their fields by at least 2 percentage points. So when you're integrating livestock, if you could, again, think back to that slide with all of those roots, when an animal grazes on a plant, it'll actually self-prune, and some of their roots are going to die back a little bit underground. So you can imagine that organic matter staying underneath the soil and those microbes recycling those roots. And it's, as you rotate the livestock through, you have this like pulsating effect underground with the roots growing and dying back and regrowing. So you can kind of picture underground how that can really speed up organic matter content. And ultimately, a lot of these practices are about holding on to water. Like I mentioned earlier, those soil aggregates are going to help infiltrate and store water. Soil microbes, I mentioned, play a big role in nutrient cycling, and they actually need a little bit of water in the soil to move around and function. And another interesting fact, 1% of organic matter equals about 27,500 gallons of water. So when you talk about building resiliency in agriculture systems and the environment, think about historic organic matter content. What if we increased, all the agriculture land in the state of Michigan by 1%, 2%, and what that means about resiliency in the environment? So what is the Regenerative Agriculture Program doing? So first I wanted to talk about staff. Within the last year, we hired 5 staff members, four of them in the field, and they're called the field coordinators, and their role is supporting conservation technicians that are being employed through the conservation districts across the state. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what those technicians are doing in a little bit in the next couple slides. But those field coordinators are also providing education and outreach, providing farmers with different resources, taking part in speaking engagements, networking, and also continuing to develop the Regenerative Ag program. So those conservation technicians that I mentioned working out of the conservation districts, this is basically one of the first big programming items that we developed and rolled out for the Regen Ag program. So the conservation technicians are implementing soil health assessments and soil sampling, and all of this is geared towards educating the farmers about their soil health, comparing their own fields, their own different areas of their own property to itself, to hopefully identify some differences in soil health and kind of get their gears turning and hopefully point them down to a path of implementing regenerative agriculture practices. So you can see in the bottom right there, the toolkit that we provided all the technicians. They're measuring for compaction, they're doing rainfall infiltration test, they're taking soil temperature, collecting all this data, and providing it to the regenerative agriculture program. So we are 1 month away to the end of the first fiscal year, and we are just getting to the point to start collecting that data. So we're excited to start getting that data in, and hopefully we'll be able to start seeing some trends or picking out some useful information from all that data being collected. And as I mentioned, the technicians are also collecting soil health samples. Those are more like a traditional soil sample. They're sent off to a lab. It's just that these tests are analyzing for soil health metrics. Some of those items on the test are more traditional, like the chemistry analysis, but then there's things like the wet aggregate stability, active carbon, soil organic carbon are also included. And then Cornell, the lab that we decided to go with to analyze the soil samples, they also perform a surface subsurface hardness interpretation, and those are actually based off of the penetrometer readings that the technicians are taking. So what else to expect in fiscal year 26? I think it was Jordan that mentioned earlier as part of her slide. We did have a Michigan Healthy Climate member involved in our demonstration farm that was started about a year ago at the VFW National Home in Eaton Rapids. So the goal of that program is to demonstrate regenerative agriculture practices. And the other unique part of that program, being based at the VFW National Home, is incorporating veterans and family members of veterans into a regenerative agriculture training program so they can learn more about regenerative agriculture. And so this picture actually happened this summer. That's one of the participants on the tractor right there. And this looks really great, really cool. I was out there that day in the morning. Unfortunately, about, I'd say 2 minutes after this picture took place, the whole rear hitch assembly broke off of this tractor right here. So that was the end of the day on planting a cover crop on that field. But I guess it was a valuable lesson in farming. So it's the real deal. We're also actively working on building out a regenerative farm network. So for those of you who might be familiar, there's other states out there that have farmer-led group programs in existence, and that's kind of what we're basing this program off of. But it's in the name, it's regenerative farm focused, and the goal of that program is to bring farmers together and allow them to implement innovative conservation approaches, increase economic opportunity, and de-risk transition into regenerative agriculture. So we budgeted about $500,000 towards that program for fiscal year 26. And our goal is to stand up about 10 groups in the state. Okay, and with that, I've provided contact information for myself and field coordinators, and I forgot to mention Will Jakindi is the program manager for the Regenerative Farm Network, and he's also overseeing the demonstration farm in East Rapids. So that concludes the presentation today. Is there any questions?
I'll just say from an MDARC perspective, thanks, Eric, for all that. Really, like this work was compelling to us for a number of reasons. One, it kind of changes the narrative on how we approach conservation and like adoption of practices that have climate impacts, but any number of different desirable outcomes here. A lot of our work traditionally in this kind of space is process-based, right? We give a farmer a payment to plant cover crops, and we kind of just walk away and say that was good, and we'll move on. It doesn't really incentivize a principle-based approach to it, or what we try to get out of improving soil quality with that, or really tied back to like actual definitive outcomes that we need to have kind of from a transparency and accountability perspective. So when we look at issues like Western Lake Erie Basin, like how are we driving success of nutrient loading and valuing those outcomes in a meaningful way, and having some feedback mechanism of improving our processes that are driven by outcomes. So a lot of this initial work, and initial genesis of this tended to be a lot around the environmental aspects of it. But I think with a lot of the positioning where the farm economy is today, it's a recognition of how do you give farmers an off-ramp from the current production model that is not very profitable for many of them, and further drives consolidation, prioritizes risk management over just about anything else on a farm, and doesn't really value farmers for how you grow things in a higher quality manner. So if we're defining higher quality, higher value of some of those environmental outcomes, the building in of climate resiliency, a longer term approach of being able to afford risk mitigation in agriculture through like enhancements to soil quality and not just purely more crop insurance. This is an alternative means by how you grow a farm. And ultimately, if you can get to a place where it is more profitable to farm on fewer acres, it's a path to having more farmers. And we talk a lot about decreasing farm numbers of farmers, increasing farm size, those things all being negatives. It's a different path of how you might grow and incentivize farms that's more in line with the values that we talk about all the time that we care about. So it's a lot of work that's still in development here. Farmers tend to have a bit of a resistance to anything new. But I think when kind of presented with the rationale behind this, so like this is an approach to production agriculture that all of you as farmers tell me that is in line with what you say your values are. I think it's got a pretty compelling narrative.
Great. Thank you, Director Boring and Eric, for that excellent presentation. I think we have time for at least a few questions. First, Lana, and then Brandon.
First of all, thank you very much. Really interesting. Just really interesting and helpful. How does, my question is, how does regenerative farming and this program in particular interface intentionally or unintentionally, whatever, with the CAFOs, the industrial and other industrial sized farming operations that may be single crop corn, whatever, but most specifically the massive dairy farms and the other CAFOs.
Yeah. Eric, you want me to take that?
Sure. I didn't know you were going to be here today, so this is perfect. Thanks, Director.
Well, I think part of it is there's got to be an alternative, like economically competitive model by which farms might embrace. Everything presented to a farmer today is going to be about consolidate, drive down your production costs, maximize your production efficiencies, maximize the return and minimize some of the external factors, let's say, right? And so in a lot of ways, right, if you're a dairy farm, you go in for a farm loan and want to increase your line of credit, the bank's going to tell you to add more cows. So what's the alternative model of doing something differently? And so we've got to be kind of coming up with some approaches to production agriculture here that have a fuller encapsulation of the values and some of the impacts and some of the risks around these sorts of things. We're building out some work within this Regen Ag program right now of exploring more definitively what conversion of traditional kind of confinement or feedlot operations look to as an alternative to grazing. So how do you build out converting a traditional dairy farm to grazing systems, and what does that look like? There's a lot of reasons why we have the consolidation we see, whether it's in row crops or monoculture corn production that feeds into dairies. But at some point, we've got to have some alternatives of what production systems look like, and this is a real effort to build some of that stuff out.
Thank you.
Great, Brandon, and then we'll take one last question from Sam. Sorry, we are behind schedule again, so we'll stop it at Sam. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the presentation, Eric. Really informative. My question is sort of a related issue. So at Consumers, we're developing, in partnership with developers and with ourselves, a lot of utility scale solar farms. And one of the concerns we often hear from both landowners and community members is the impact of these large solar farms potentially on soil health. I'm not as deep in the weeds on the details of this as some of my team members, but I'm curious as to, I believe there are some valid concerns and maybe some overstatements of concerns, but there are also some good practices that developers and owners of solar projects like us can take to ensure soil health is maintained, so that if agricultural land may eventually be put back into use for agricultural purposes, we're not damaging the soil health significantly. So I just wonder if you guys, through the Regen Ag program, if this impacts your sphere of influence, what you're hearing, how would you advise us to get better educated on this issue? Be curious about your thoughts on it.
I think with a lot of things, right, management's key on these. You can have, big row crop operations that are negatively impact soil health, and you can have big row crop operations that are positively building soil health. It's in the management and like the approaches to this. And I would say a lot of the solar development is probably going to be similar. Eric talked a lot about the principle-based work around, the diversity and living roots and potential livestock integration. Sheep under solar panels is a thing that's being worked to kind of build out exactly what that looks like today. Probably not cows, because cows like to bang into them, but the sheep and the goats will climb on them. But the sheep seem to be pretty good fits with them. So, I mean, I think when all parties kind of have a similar management philosophy towards this, then yeah, I think there can be some long-term improvements of soil health here. And I think it's important to note too that the mindfulness of how these operations are installed probably it's going to have a big bearing on the potential return to farmland at some point. When you take a piece of land and put it in a subdivision, it's probably going to stay houses. It's really difficult to return that to agricultural production. Certainly see there's a path to, at some point at the expiration of the lease, of returning some of the ground to farming.
Great, thank you. Sam?
Great. Thanks, Eric, for the presentation, and Director Boring for your context and answers. I'm convinced that regenerative agriculture is good for society. I guess I have a few like lines of inquiry. I'll try to kind of focus on one question in particular. One is like, oh, and by the way, my internet fell out for like 10 minutes, so I missed some of Eric's presentation. Apologies if you did answer these questions or say something about this. One, I'm not clear on what like current or baseline take-up of regenerative agriculture practices is, and that kind of informs the scope or scale of the impacts available to us as we're trying to decarbonize, for instance. Two, and this is what I'm especially interested in, what really are the binding constraints on taking up these practices? I am consistently pitched the notion that this pays off privately for the farmer, and I'd like to believe that's true, although it seems possible that it's the decarbonization, it's the climate benefits, the CO2 benefits that really dominate and make this like socially useful. If it's going to be like win-win, if it pays off for the farmer and for society, what is it that's in the way? It sounded a little bit from what Director Boring said that it may be a resistance to change in some way, shape, or form. So it could be like information or perception about these practices. But it could also be like the kind of upfront cost of taking up these practices, the financing. And I know there was a program in there that Eric described that maybe would hit on that. But that seems like that's the most important question to me, to kind of break through the and raise take up significantly for what seems like it's definitely socially really valuable and potentially really privately valuable too. Last thing I'll add on to that is, with those questions in mind, like what is the binding constraint on take up here? Can we monitor and like put in place a system for evaluating the programs to see what actually is causing greater take up? I think that would be potentially really useful. Thanks.
A few things there. The question of how many farmers are regenerative farmers today, I'm not sure that there's necessarily one practice or 6 practices that all of a sudden you kind of trip your way into, now you're sufficiently a regen farmer. So I think there's a gradient there in a way that kind of defies the easy categorization of how you identify farmers. I mean, you're clearly an organic farmer or you're not. There's a certification around this. It's more complex with the regen ag piece of this. There's probably a lot of farmers, most farmers to some extent are managing with these principles already in mind, even if they don't consciously know it. The question about barriers to adoption, Eric put in the chat there the link to the Regen Ag program. There is a detailed, very well built out strategic plan around this that acknowledges these barriers on a number of levels. And we could spend an hour talking about this. There's technical aspects of how you actually implement these practices on the ground. There's financing, there's risk mitigation. There's a lot of pieces to this. It's evolving more and more that the questions around how you do this are probably less scientific and kind of the technical piece, and more of the sociological aspects of how farmers function in a community and what the social stigma and perceptions around these sorts of things might be. That really matters. A lot of farmers are running primarily rented ground. And so how you appeal to your neighbors and position yourselves in the eyes of landlords that are going to traditionally be older folks that are kind of raised in a place where, a good looking field is a clean field. That makes a big bearing on this sort of stuff. But it quickly spirals all the way up into an approach of what our national ag policy is. And I mean, starting in the 80s, we took an approach here where we're going to, get bigger, get out. The export of agricultural commodities on the global scene is a projection of soft world power. Like the agricultural system we have today is a product of that kind of global thinking and national positioning. So there's a lot of pieces to that then, right? So the idea here, we're just going to flip into going into regen ag and away from more and more consolidation and high production efficiency row crop operations is like, those are the things that are influenced in this too. So like we're involved in, discussions with Farm Bill and kind of some of these national pieces, because those aspects of it are huge influences on what each individual state's makeup could be. But I would say the biggest thing on this is, and it speaks to the importance of us talking about this topic at places like the Council for Climate Solutions, is like, how is the work of agriculture seen as important of moving the needle on the big issues we have as a state, whether it's climate or the lack of economic opportunities in a rural area, or the decrease in livability of places, or the unhealthiness of people. Having this kind of work seen is not just important to the farmer's bottom line, but important is a significant piece of how we build out climate resiliency for the state and all these other things we care about. That's probably the biggest thing of making sure that this work is running in these kinds of circles and is seen as more than just about agriculture.
Thanks
Great.
so
Well, thank
much.
you for those questions, and thanks again to Eric and Director Boring. All right, sorry, I'm going to move things along. We have one last presentation. It's an elective pay ambassador program. We have the Michigan Infrastructure Office's Technical Assistance Center here. We have Chris Brady and Cassie Rowlands who will talk us through this topic. And Chris and Cassie, I just need like a minute at the end. So if you can try to wrap up by 2:58, 2:59, that's all I need to close it out. So you have about a half hour. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Julia. We'll do our best to be speedy. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Brady. I'm the director of the Michigan Infrastructure Office Technical Assistance Center, and we are excited to be with you today to present elective pay and the ambassador program. I want to take a quick second to thank OCE and the Michigan Infrastructure Council, who are partnering with us in this joint launch of the Elective Pay Ambassador Program with the My Healthy Climate Challenge #2. This has been a fruitful partnership that helped bring in millions of dollars to Michigan from the Community Change Grant Program. And with this, we're still working together to achieve our My Healthy Climate Plan goals. So we are loving it. In a minute, Cassie Rowlands, who is our Elective Pay Program Manager at the TAC, is gonna go into more detail about elective pay and the ambassador program. But I'd like to set the stage with this short video to introduce some of you to elective pay. And for others that are already familiar, the video demonstrates the value of elective pay to our Michigan communities and sets the stage for why we want to spread the word and help organizations and municipalities statewide with the ambassador program. So we will hit the video and then Cassie's going to pick it up with the details. So please, with that, if you could start the video, that'd be great.
All right. I'm not sure how the audio is going to work, so we're going to try it though. Oh, I don't know how to have it not make it sound twice.
I could try to share it.
I think maybe if you turn off your audio, I think it was picking up audio from the other folks on the call. So I'm going to try it one more time and then we'll pass it over to you, Chris. Sorry, there's second technical difficulty. Okay. Okay, it's not going to work. Do you mind doing it, Chris?
I'll do my best. Here we go. Sound. Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right, let's see if the video audio comes through.
Across Michigan, elective pay is helping organizations invest in clean energy and redirect savings toward their communities.
Through the IRS, and it allows entities that have never filed tax before to claim paid actual cash rebates on investments that they've made.
Both the Presbyterian Church of Okemos and the Lord of Lords Ministries in Detroit used elective pay to cover part of the cost.
It covers about 30% of the overall funding. $6,000 from the federal government as a direct payment.
Elective pay helped defray our costs significantly, and we're saving a little over $6,000 a year on our electric bills.
The Michigan Infrastructure Office Technical Assistance Center, or TAC, helps organizations navigate the elective pay process, providing guidance on eligibility, filing, and maximizing their returns.
Years ago, I started teaching on environmental stewardship. I'm proactive. I'm all in. We got 26 solar panels. Just to know that we're saving that money and we can use it for other things is phenomenal.
With support from the TAC, more organizations across Michigan can take advantage of elective pay and continue investing in their communities, making a lasting impact. Learn more about elective pay and how your organization can benefit.
Okay, with that, I'll stop sharing. If you can put the rest of the. Cassie, you're up. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chris. So that was our first video in our success story, elective pay success story video series. I'm going to put a link in the chat to the MyoTAC website on elective pay, where you can also see videos of nonprofits and soon school districts that have used this federal funding tool. So if you're not familiar with elective pay, as the video said, it's a way for tax-exempt entities, so houses of worship, nonprofits, municipalities, public school districts, rural electric co-ops, and more, to actually claim federal tax credits, even though they don't have a federal tax liability. So a very large portion of the Inflation Reduction Act was actually in the form of tax credits. And so while individuals like you and me and private corporations can use federal tax credits, have always been able to, these tax exempt entities were not able to before the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. So these entities have to file a federal tax return, usually for the first time. And then once they do so, they will get a check back from the IRS for the value of that credit. This is something, a form of funding that can be combined with grants, loans, municipal bonds, and therefore it can cover a large portion of the project costs. The tax credits alone usually are around 30%, and a very large portion of Michigan is eligible automatically for actually 40% credit. So this is a really important incentive, and the state itself has actually used elective pay for some solar projects it placed in service not too long ago. So the state, as a tax exempt entity, also is eligible and has been pursuing this for its own projects. Next slide. So the number one question we get these days is, does this program still exist? Elective pay does still exist. The money is still flowing. The different steps in the process are still moving as normal. I often hear elective pay referred to as the silver lining of federal funding. So it is still very real. Checks are still being received by the entities in Michigan we're working with. And we do spend a lot of time combating misinformation that all of the clean energy funding is gone. So one thing we'd love for you all to take away from this is helping us spread the word about elective pay as still a very real resource for any entities investing in solar, wind, geothermal, energy storage, and electric vehicles. I will say that as a result of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or HR1, a number of the tax credits that can be used with elective pay have changed. There are going to be more restrictive requirements on sourcing for projects starting construction in 2026. So we're encouraging folks to start construction sooner rather than later. The tax credits for electric vehicle purchases expire next month, September 30th. So we're hoping folks will get those purchases made also sooner rather than later. Electric vehicle chargers, the credit for those expires in the middle of next year. And then the solar and wind investment and production tax credits expire at the end of 2027. There is still plenty of time for especially a lot of these small projects that we see with using elective pay, like the two church solar installations that we mentioned. There's still time to get under construction and place those in service and claim these tax credits long before the end of 2027. So we really are trying to keep up awareness and momentum in using this program because it is unlimited. It's not like grant programs that have a cap on a certain amount they've been appropriated. These are, for the vast majority of them, uncapped and can be claimed as many times by as many entities that place these projects in service. Finally, I'll just say geothermal, energy storage, and some other technologies have tax credits that are still fully available through 2032. And so we plan to still continue seeking out those entities in Michigan that are pursuing those types of projects and help them get those tax credits. Next slide. So we and the MyoTAC have been providing technical assistance around elective pay. We've been raising awareness. We've been doing lots of presentations with different partners. We have been doing in-person information sessions. And with the help of the Michigan Infrastructure Council, we've actually been offering free accounting services for any tax-exempt entities that don't have an accountant on staff to help them actually claim this money. So that's been going incredibly well. But one of the biggest issues we see is that there are still tons of tax-exempt entities across the state that have just never heard of this. So they may have been thinking about solar, or they may have put in solar or purchased an electric vehicle, and they just didn't know they're eligible to get this reimbursement. So we have created the Elective Pay Ambassador Program alongside Eagle and the MIC. We really want to help raise awareness about elective pay. So we are looking to place an ambassador in each of the prosperity regions in Michigan. They will be hosted by a local organization, either a municipality or a nonprofit. That host organization is the one who applies to us. The applications are currently open. We will assess that organization. They'll be responsible for hiring an ambassador themselves. And they will be a resource that local entities can call with questions on elective pay, and they'll be working very closely with us. We'll be giving them training on elective pay. They'll be very well versed in all of our technical assistance offerings, and we will be sending them out to host different events to raise awareness about elective pay throughout their community. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the applicants are actually the organizations that will host the ambassador. They can be municipalities, tribes, or a whole range of different types of nonprofits. We are not trying to prescribe any type of organization necessarily, but we are looking for those that are very well connected in their region, have some experience with clean energy, and are looking to build relationships and help promote these types of projects throughout their region. Slide. As I mentioned, it'll just be one host organization per prosperity region, and we will be looking to that organization and the ambassador to make sure they reach across the entire prosperity region. So there will be some local travel required. Next slide. The host organizations that are selected will receive up to $70,000 to support the ambassador that they bring on for 1 year. The awardees will also be responsible for bringing that person on or reassigning the duties of an existing staff member. We don't have a strong preference, but we do want to get this program and these ambassadors up and running soon, given the many deadlines that I mentioned earlier around the use of the tax credits. We want there to be designated supervisor, and there will be lots and lots of training from ourselves, from third-party partners, and from the accounting firm we have on hand. And we're, like I said, we're really looking for those with clean energy experience, relationships in the community, and their ability to actually host an ambassador within their organization. Next slide. I went over this a bit, but we're going to be expecting ambassadors to host their own training and outreach sessions, looking for eligible projects in the region and letting us know about those so we can offer technical assistance. They are going to be connecting those entities or telling those entities about our different programs. And they will be hopefully embedding this new concept of elective pay into local conversations on clean energy. I kind of envision, you know, say there's a school district that's considering upgrades or maybe bonded for some energy efficiency measures and upgrades, and they're considering solar or geothermal. This person ideally would be going to those school committee meetings, speaking with the officials and making sure that they're aware of elective pay and have included that in their kind of planning processes. Next slide. So we do need your help with recruiting host organizations. The applications close the same day as the My Healthy Climate Challenge #2, August 31st. We have done extensive outreach on this, but we would always love to have your support in sharing the word about this program. With any organizations you think might be interested. As I said, we're really trying to reach every region of Michigan. And so if you have any in mind that sound like they would be a good fit for this, we would love to send them more information. We then will select the host organizations and announce those so that it's public, everyone knows who their local ambassadors will be partnering with, and then we'll be hiring them on board and getting them trained up for the fall. I think that might be my last slide. Yeah.
It is. Great. Thank you so much, Cassie. And thanks especially for being able to finish in the time we have allowed. I think we definitely have time for a few questions from the council if there are any.
How many ambassadors are you going to have?
10.
Any other questions? Yeah, Maggie.
I just wanted to quickly note while we still have Cassie here talking about elective pay, as well as the MDARD team, I think there could definitely be some overlap here for some of the farmer organizations that y'all might work with and in your networks to be looking at elective pay as a resource as well for anyone that's considering clean energy technology or carbon capture. So just want to make that connect while we have everyone here on the line together.
Great. Thanks, Maggie. We have 10 minutes, so we're truly not rushed. Any last call for questions for Cassie or Chris? And it's likely that Cassie and Chris always give such excellent presentations that they answered all of your questions. All right. Well, thanks again to the Technical Assistance Center and to Chris and Cassie for presenting to us. I'm always really impressed by their work on elective pay. With that, I believe that's all we have to discuss today. Thank you all for joining us. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, November 18th from 1 to 3 p.m. As always, hybrid will be online and also in person here at Stabenow Hall in Lansing. We'll be sending out meeting materials after this call, but you can also find those materials online and submit written comments via email to eagle-climatesolutions@michigan.gov. Thank you all so much. See you in November. We can do that. We don't have a motion, but the meeting's adjourned would you like to call it?
I'm good with it if we're good.
Can we fully close out the call?